Got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks. It's kind of hard to watch this life go by.
Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. Thank you so much for joining me. I want you to call, so let me give you the numbers right away. Area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. Now, tonight, we will be celebrating and sharing and talking and honoring the life of Prince. Now, I'm sure most of you know that Prince was found dead earlier in the week, and he was such an influence and an icon when it came to the world of music. But he was so much more than that. He was a true humanitarian and a person that really not only loved what he did, but he loved humanity. Now, tonight as my guest, I have Felicia Morris, also known as the Poetess and the owner of Morris Media Studios. She's my special co-host because Felicia was not only a professional and has been a professional in the entertainment business for the last 27 years, but she was a major fan of Prince since she was a very young girl, a teenager, a mere teen at 16 is when she embraced his music. Now, I too enjoyed Prince's music, but I was not a fan like Felicia was, because I don't know that much about Prince and his background. I know some of his music, but she really embraced what Prince wanted to share with the world. So without further ado, hi, Felicia.
Well, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I thank you so much for joining me so that we can give the audience an opportunity, I guess, to have a bird's eye view of what knowing Prince was really like, because you not only worked in the entertainment business, but you were a fan and you attended many of his concerts. And I'd just like for you to share a little bit about the sadness that I think everybody is feeling, but also some of the fond memories regarding your longtime association and affiliation with Prince.
Okay. Well, I think the saddest part for me is that I'll never get to meet him as I've always wished to. Mm-hmm. But I've been on stage with him. I've been close enough to touch him. Wow. I was standing in back of him, and I wanted to actually squeeze his cute butt. But I felt if I do that, I was risking my life. Mm-hmm. So I just reveled in the moment that I was on stage with him in 1986.
Now, where was this particular event held at?
This was in 1986 at the Sheraton Hotel at what was called the Black Radio Exclusive Conference that they did here once a year, where all the black radio stations and all the black music industry would gather each year and network and do these functions. And they were honoring Prince this year in 86. And he came and accepted his award and performed, and he invited people on stage. Mm-hmm. And
now, when he called your name to come on stage, what was that like? He
didn't call my name to come on stage, but they allowed like a few people that were there that day to come on stage.
Okay.
I just remember, when the 1999 album came out, I think I was a fan prior to that album, but that was the album that I think was kind of life-changing for me. I remember just laying on the floor with my headphones on, and I actually had the wax, the
vinyl,
and it opened. It had the big layout and everything, and I would listen to that album from beginning to end and just lay there on my floor and just be really into it. And then there was a situation where my dad, who lived in LA at the time, and I lived up north in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he said, I have tickets to Prince this weekend, if you want to come down, come see Prince. And I asked my boss, could I have that weekend off to go see Prince in Los Angeles? He said no, but I said yes.
Wow.
I went anyway, and needless to say, I lost my job, but to me...
Wait a minute, you lost your job?
Behind coming to LA to go see Prince
Felicia.
live. And I have zero regrets about that. I'm glad that I did. It was just a job. It was not my career, so...
Okay.
And I was only probably about 18, so,
Oh, so this is very early on in life.
Yeah, I was 18.
Yes.
And Prince, I've just been saying, he's just been like the soundscape of my formative years. I've always appreciated his music. I think he wrote some of the most beautiful lyrics. And I feel like this is the hardest time I've ever had in losing someone that was not actual blood to me, like, or a dear friend.
Yes.
And so, it's crazy.
Now, you described it as some of the most beautiful music, and I've heard that from a lot of people. And if you could, in terms of the beauty of his music, what would you say set him apart and set his music apart in terms of the beauty? What was that special quality that the music had?
I just think that Prince wrote from his heart.
I the authenticity then.
It was authentic, and I really believe that he experienced love and being in love and relationship stuff, and because the lyrics that he wrote I could relate to, and when I'm in love, especially with his song Adore, that's like, I think, one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And in order to write something like that, you definitely have to be in love or experience really loving someone like that.
Yes.
And the other thing that made Prince a great artist was that he was a musician. He played instruments.
Yes.
And, a lot of greats, although they were great in many areas in the music business, a lot of them did not play as many instruments or composed or wrote songs like Prince did.
Okay, so that was probably the thing that set him apart, because he really did have a knowledge and a grasp of what he wanted to present and how he wanted it presented. That perhaps some artists, they may never have an understanding of that, which is understandable. So you're saying that the key to the beauty of his music is his level of understanding and the way in which he did his presentations. His presentation in terms of being able to play so many different instruments, to have a working knowledge of music and how to put it all together to create that lasting feeling, or as you said, to create love.
Yes.
Because when you think about it, all artists don't have the ability to make you feel love when you hear their music. You may feel a lot of things.
Yes.
But unadulterated love in terms of truly being cared for, truly being cared about.
Truly getting your heart broken, being disappointed. It was also the downside of love that he addressed. But I think what was so amazing about Prince, from my observation, that he was it seemed to be a terribly shy person.
Yes, he acknowledged that.
But at the same time, he was bold and courageous to come out with an album cover with half naked and wearing Speedo underwears with thigh-high boots.
And a trench coat.
And a trench coat. I mean, who was doing that kind of stuff back then? He was just very bold, and he wasn't afraid to talk about sex or sexuality. I think that for him to be such a shy person, that was very bold, that he expressed himself in a lot of ways that he expressed it.
Yes. Well, when I heard that he was shy, I was surprised by that, simply because, as you said, he was truly as much of a fashion icon as he was a musical genius. And he had the ability to, I guess, address both sides of being both feminine and masculine, and as you said, in a very bold way that most artists would never consider. And I, as a person, I know that's something that, I would never consider, because many times we think of clearly defined roles when it comes to sexuality, but to move seemingly effortlessly between the two, and the outfit that you just described, I've heard more people talk about that, I would say, in the last couple of days, in terms of his sense of fashion, than any other outfit that perhaps he chose to wear.
What's crazy is that despite all that he's worn, despite his feminine and masculine side, I never thought of Prince as being gay. And it would perfectly be okay with me if he is or if he was or was not.
Okay.
But I just never, he was really the only probably artist that can get away with all that and still get girls,
Yeah, and with high heels, the way he wore them.
And I'll say this too, is that he was so influential in that time when he came out. People were dressing like him. Other groups were imitating him. And I was telling my friends that when I first moved here to LA, I went into a job interview.
Okay.
And I had on a suit, but I also had on lace gloves and
wow.
all influenced by Prince. Just so happened I did get the job.
Excellent.
And years later, my boss had hired me there. We're still friends to this day, many years later. And he said that they had a little joke going on in the office that I came to my job interview dressed like Madonna.
And not like Felicia.
It was actually Prince. So he definitely had a major influence on my life. I've been to maybe about 4 or 5 of his concerts that I can remember. Me being in radio, I forget what year he released the Musicology album. I'll look that up during the break. I was called to a press conference that he was having to announce the album and the tour, and what was innovative about that whole album was that he gave a copy of that album away for everyone who purchased tickets to his tour.
Wow.
And so because of that, he sold 1 million concert tickets, but that also equated to platinum album because he gave away 1 million CDs as well to the album. So that was counted as part of album sales.
Wow.
And so, and you and I were watching a clip earlier about how, some people don't appreciate when things are free.
That's right.
You know, people
That's
are
right.
downloading music for free and stuff like that. But if you go to the internet, it is very rare that you find any free music by Prince. You won't. I don't even think, you can correct me on this, I don't think he's even on iTunes.
I don't think so, because he in some of his interviews he has mentioned that.
No YouTube.
Yes.
I mean, because I'm sure a lot of people were, when he passed away, searching for all this stuff on the internet, and it was just not there, because he controlled it the best way that he could, with it being digital. So
yes.
But I don't think it was more so money, but just having an appreciation for people's work.
And he really did understand business. And after the break, we're going to talk more about his sense of business, even from being a teenager. He really had a real grasp on what to do and what not to do regarding being an artist and what all that entails. So after the break, we're going to talk more about Prince. And if you'd like to call and be part of the conversation, you can call at area code 323-293-3375 as we remember an icon and a humanitarian, Prince Rogers Nelson. We'll be right back.
And right now we're going to get into a little clip from Prince from Lopez Tonight, and we'll be back after this.
Okay.
Artichoke.
There's something about, it's almost like, there's something about the Forum and Madison Square Garden and things that remain, the soul remains in places like that. I love that you're, in keeping it real, as you have by choosing the Forum. Also, tickets, the majority of tickets are $25. So, on behalf of the Latino community, I'd like to say thank you. Wait a minute. We can eat and we can drink and we can see Prince for $25.
Well, I like to give props to Live Nation for that this event, because $25 is what we used to pay for concerts.
Absolutely, yes.
Then somebody called Ticketmaster came in, and so now we're showing who the real Ticketmaster is, and you know, we're putting the right price.
Well
on
said.
it.
The Ticketmaster, yes. Now, you raise a lot of money for helping people out. Already you've gifted $2 million to arts, education, and environment funds, right?
That much?
Yes, $2 million. Yes. And you auctioned off, I find it interesting, you played this guitar and you've auctioned it off.
Yeah.
How much did you raise?
We got $100,000 for that. Brother Lewis Hamilton.
Yes,
race
$100,000? Do you have the guitar with you? Do you have it?
They're supposed to have it. Oh, okay.
This is the guitar. $100,000. Lewis Hamilton is a Formula One race car champion. That's you. Played by you.
It's gonna be hard to part with this. I was going to say.
Do you get attached? Do you still have the first guitar you've played? Do you keep instruments like that?
No, a lot of my stuff gets stolen. There's Lewis right there.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. A lot
I'm
of your
steal
stuff.
them shoes.
Yeah. For you. Your writer now is showing up. It says, well, Prince, when he gets here, I say he's 5 minutes out. He's in the car. He's leaving his house. And what you required was very simple: water, some juice, and organic tortilla chips, and 3 grapes. So, Prince, you're vegan or you're vegetarian? Yeah.
But I don't mess with no red meat, though.
No. You want to live.
Well, something. Well, that's one thing. The other thing is we're finding out that, well, I probably better call a lawyer about this, but.
Just say allegedly.
Allegedly, When you ask for a hot dog, you're getting...
You get an artichoke.
Well, you get what you ask for.
Yeah, so I like that you keep it like that. You know, you do love chips, and I understand that you love Latino, your Latino influence. I think you got a little Latino.
They can't find
Corazon.
out. They can't find out who my mom's dad is, so you might be right.
She's Latina.
Yeah.
He's Latino.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever just kick it and go to Olive Garden with like a sweatsuit?
Oh man, I don't own a sweatsuit.
I like that. I like that. No, so in your vault at your house, you have, I understand, about 1,000 songs that you've written, and you could write a song every day. It is your life. It's your heart, and your soul is in writing.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Carolyn Holt Show. If you would like to comment or express sympathies to the family of Prince, and that's really the world, because Prince loved the world and the world loved him back. But if you'd like to call the show tonight, the phone number is area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. My co-host tonight is Felicia Mars, also known as the Poetess, and a huge Prince fan. And I am so happy that she chose to join me, because she really has given me some insight into who Prince really was as a humanitarian, because people don't always talk about that side of him, because he was very private in that way, and he didn't want people to know. But also, in terms of being a great humanitarian, he was also a nonconformist. And before we went to the break, she talked about his sense of fashion and the impact that it had on music and other musical acts. Mm-hmm. So, Felicia, mm-hmm. Who would you say, in terms of knowing a lot about the music industry, who would you say was directly influenced by Prince's sense of style and his sense of what musical group would you say was influenced probably the most by his fashion sense?
Well, I guess, of course, the people in his camp already.
Yes, like Morris Day,
Sheila E. And, Morris Day and the Time.
Mm-hmm.
I think he influenced the fans more.
Oh, okay.
In terms of style and fashion, because you saw a lot of people, a lot of the ladies wearing the lingerie and the lace, mm-hmm. and even guys wearing the lace, because they thought that was cool and would get the ladies.
And it did, apparently.
Yeah, but we have to take it back even a little further on who Prince was influenced by.
Okay.
And he was certainly influenced by James Brown, and I could see a lot of that in his live performance.
Yes. And he did, there was a performance that I've seen lately that he did participate
with James and Michael Jackson.
And Michael Jackson,
yes. So you see that, and Sly Stone as well. And
okay, that's a good
one.
And
Larry Graham from the Graham Central Station was also a close friend and influence on him.
Mm-hmm.
To listen to his music is one thing when you're working or you pop in his CD or his album or whatever. That's one thing, but to see him live is a whole other experience.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how soulful he is. He's very soulful.
Okay.
Very much like James Brown, but with his own twist, his own flavor. Mm-hmm. But the way he can sit down at a piano and just sing his heart out or play his heart out, you don't really experience that part of it in his recordings.
Okay.
You only get that when he performs live.
Oh, Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
there is, you know, sometimes now there are musicians and artists that they really sound great on the recording.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear them live, there's that certain nuance, I guess, that you have to have that you don't get.
Yeah. But Prince, he delivers on both platforms.
Uh-huh.
I remember, because he used to own a club here in L.A. called Glam Slam.
Okay.
It's near downtown. And this is the time when he was going through the whole thing with Warner Brothers, and he didn't use the name Prince.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't perform any of his classics when you went to see him.
Okay.
And I remember going to see him at Glam Slam, and I was so disappointed because he did not sing any of the songs that we know and love, because he was on his own. Like you said, he was anti-establishment,
Mm-hmm.
nonconformist.
Yes.
So he played new music, unreleased, but it was so new to my ear. I was like, I'm not feeling this. And I think I was pretty upset that night
Okay.
because he played all songs I had never heard before,
Wow.
and to be honest, they weren't all that great.
Mm-hmm.
So whether he did that on purpose or just to do what he does. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I like is I like hearing a lot of the stories that my friends tell that have actually worked closely with him. I have a few friends that DJ'd for him.
Okay.
Just as recently, up into his death, a good friend of mine who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, Pam the Funkstress. Hopefully she's going to tell her story about how they hooked up. She's definitely going through it now because she just worked with him just over the past few months.
Okay.
And I guess I'm going to assume that she was spinning somewhere and he happened to be there and liked her style
Okay.
and invited her to go on tour with him.
Wow.
And when I was doing my research after he passed, I saw, the last party that he gave at Paisley Park after he had the incident on the plane where they had to do the emergency landing.
Okay.
And I saw her name on the flyer, and it said the Queen of the Turntables. And
Wow.
Pam the Funktress, and I guess he named her Purple Pam.
Aww.
And it was just sad that it was such a short stint for her because she had just got on the road maybe 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have other friends that have shared stories about when they've DJ'd with him, when they've been out to his house, when they've, hung out with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just always I felt a little envious about it. I've always wanted the opportunity just to be in the same room with him and have a conversation. We had a sister call in, I think it was on Friday.
Okay.
She used to do his hair. So she was
Wow,
his
what
hair-
an experience doing Prince's hair, because
Yes.
he loved style when
Yeah,
it
he
came
had so
to...
many different hairstyles.
Yes.
During the years. And
Yeah.
it's a trip because he started with the afro and he ended with the afro.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But she called in and she shared some of her experiences with us
Mm-hmm.
about working with Prince.
Mm-hmm.
That he was always on time, he was punctual,
Okay.
and that he liked strong-minded people. You know,
Yes.
he was very mental, you know. And she said he would test people to see how they would react to certain things. And she said one time, I guess he was talking mess about her to one of his staff members.
Okay.
But I think he meant it to get back to her or whatever. And so it got back to her.
Okay.
And she said he was getting ready to go on stage. She go, yeah, I heard that mess you was talking about me. Woo, woo, woo. And she said he just laughed and then went on and did his thing. And he really respected people who stood their ground and knew their worth.
Yes.
Those were a few things that stood out to her that she shared with us. So I would have liked to just been in his company. In his
I was just going to say, do you think privately he was he had a different persona than what you saw publicly, or would you say the experience was probably even more fulfilling if you had the opportunity to have a private one-on-one conversation or just time with him? Do you think that there was something that you would have experienced privately that
that would have been a dream?
Okay.
But now I have to live, vicariously through my friends that have actually had relationships with him, professional and friendships.
Yes.
The impression I get is that he had a good sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was probably as down to earth as he could be, being Prince,
Yes.
And I don't know. I just think that I appreciate that he was private.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so far, I feel like this is kind of the quiet before the storm comes, because there's probably going to be all kind of stuff coming out. But so far,
Mm-hmm.
you haven't heard a lot of drama associated with Prince throughout this would be 40. He started, his first song was in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
You never heard a lot of bad or, controversies or,
Yes.
anything that followed him,
Yeah, and I would attribute that to, I believe he really embraced his spirituality and his religion. It's my understanding that he was a Jehovah's Witness, and that he took his relationship with God very seriously. It wasn't just a frivolous thing. It meant something.
He was actually reportedly even did the work of the Jehovah's Witness. He did the door.
That's my understanding.
I heard that
yes.
him and Larry Graham, I think Larry Graham may be the one who turned him on to the religion.
Okay.
I read somewhere that someone said that both of them came knocking on their door to spread the word.
Yeah.
And she thought at first they were coming like, oh, they want to shoot a video here at my house. But they were actually coming to, what did they, prophesize or whatever, door to door.
Uh-huh.
So I said, wouldn't that be amazing if you're just... Now, that's one Jehovah's Witness I would probably let in and give me the word.
Well,
the rest of them I don't answer.
You wouldn't answer
No.
them. Well, I respect them. I think that they are wonderful human beings, because I can't imagine frequently having to encounter your fellow man under circumstances when he doesn't want to be encountered with a smile. So I admire at least the work that they get out and do, because I know that's not easy. And as we discussed earlier, Prince apparently was a very shy individual. And so to get out and witness face to face with people can be a daunting task. But apparently, as you said, he took his vow seriously, and so he did what you have to do as part of the faith. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I like about him, Prince apparently loved everybody. He just loved humanity, period. He always talked about, it's not just one group of people. I love all people. I love people, period. So
I think too, I always got the impression that he liked, sort of similar to me, like I like talented people.
okay,
They don't necessarily have to be superstars
yeah,
or famous. They could be what do you call it, underrated,
under the radar.
under the radar.
Yes,
Because I've been the biggest fans of people that a lot of people have never even heard of.
That's
so
right.
I kind of got that impression with Prince, that he really respects people that have a talent.
yes,
And he, oftentimes, I've seen him want to work or collaborate or tap into that talent.
yes.
So I like the idea that he likes everything, we like in the hood, the culture. And the other thing is,
Except for he probably was a very he was a very serious person about his diet. That's one of the things that he, I guess, really remained true to. He didn't eat red meat. And he said he was a vegetarian. So,
Right.
and looking at him, I don't think I've ever seen a situation where Prince gained weight and then had to lose weight. In terms of it being like a yo-yo effect.
it's a trip. I've seen, just like looking at pictures online, I think I've seen a few pictures where he looked kind of chunky a little bit.
A little chunky?
Not over. But you look, he has a sister who's his full-blooded sister. They have the same parents.
Okay.
And she's a little overweight, but
Okay.
I hear she has several children too, so that could be the cause of that.
Yes.
So you could imagine if he, did not care about his weight or what he ate. Because people say Prince is like a vampire because he was 57, but he looks so great.
I know. I mean, it's hard to believe
that he hasn't gone under the knife.
Yeah.
But the lady that said that she was his hairstylist for, I think she said 5 years or something like that, a couple of years. I asked her, I said, did he wear any weave or any pieces in his hair? And she said no, that it was all his hair.
Yes.
But as he got older, of course, our hair thins. So, but no, she said that that his hair was naturally soft and, so she said, do you see the hair on his chest from his first album?
No,
so she kind of compared that like to, I guess the softness of his hair or whatever. But no, he just seems like a really cool guy. I got the impression that he didn't let everybody in his circle, but if he liked you, I think he enjoyed comedy. He really, I think, got a kick out of Dave Chappelle's routines about him. Especially on the Dave Chappelle, the whole routine about him playing basketball and making pancakes afterwards.
Because he really did play basketball.
Yes, even in school he played.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you know what position? Because I just can't imagine him being a power forward.
I don't know what position, but I used to hear that he played in his high heels.
Oh, he played basketball in his high heels?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, my God. Now, that I would have loved to have been an eyewitness to.
Yeah. So, so it'd be interesting to just kind of see what they come up with as terms of the cause of death, because already, people have their conspiracy theories. And because he recently won the rights back to his music catalog, and which I hear is almost worth probably $700 million or more.
Wow.
And so everyone's saying that you know.
Well, now let me ask you this: Did he? Was it as a result of a lawsuit or just negotiation? Did he have to sue to make this happen for himself, or he was able to just negotiate? And
I really don't know. Mm-hmm. No, I don't.
Because
I
it
don't
would
know.
be interesting to hear how that all came about.
Well, I think at some point, I mean, record deals do expire. You know, unless somebody signed their entire life away.
Yeah, they do have a X amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he was with, I think, Warner Brothers from the start. So.
Oh, okay.
You know.
So that's the only major label that he worked with was Warner Brothers.
You know, that I don't know either, but I know that him along with like Chuck D of Public Enemy were some of the first pioneers in digital music and downloads and stuff like that. Because even Chuck D of Public Enemy, they control their music. They have their own sites that you go and download the music from. This last album that Chuck D did, he even produced it on vinyl.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Well, you know, the interesting thing that I found about Prince, I saw a clip of American Bandstand, and he shared with Dick Clark, even as a young man, that he wanted to have control over his music. And I was really blown away by that, because how many teenagers truly understand the business of music? And you hear artists say many times that when they're performing, that's the fun part. But the business aspect of music and entertainment is very difficult.
Well,
And
from what I understand, his parents were musicians. His
Okay.
dad was.
okay.
And he may have learned, you know, growing up in a house with musicians, maybe he learned a few lessons by watching his parents,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Prince was a special human being.
Right.
I really believe he was here to serve his purpose. And he was brilliant. So I wouldn't be surprised as a teenager that he still had that brilliancy and that maturity.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised, because I'm like, man, I have never heard such a young person speak so decisively about what he wanted to do and how he wanted his music to affect people. But I think we have a clip of Prince, not Prince, but of one of his associates
Yes.
speaking about the humanitarian side of Prince, because I guess as a member of the Jehovah Witness, that's not something you can talk about. But apparently he was a very giving, and he touched the lives of so many people who have no idea that it was Prince that supported them
Right.
in some way. So,
So this is his friend Van Jones.
okay.
And I guess him and Prince did a number of charitable
Events.
projects. So we'll go to the clip.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, so Van, you and I have been talking all night. So, what do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say that he wasn't just a musician. He was an incredible musician, but that there was a core of genius that just used music to express itself. But he also was an incredible humanitarian, Don. He was a Jehovah's Witness, so he was not allowed to speak publicly about any of his good acts, any of his charitable activity. But I was one of the people in his life that helped him with all of that. And so, you know, he supported and helped to create something called Yes We Code. Yes We Code has now 15 major technology companies working with kids in the hood, getting them ready to have jobs in Silicon Valley. That was Prince. He worked with something called Green for All. I was the public face of that, but he put the money in. There are people that have solar panels on their houses right now in Oakland, California, that they don't know Prince paid for them. He was the kind of friend, kind of like you, Don. He doesn't care if you're having a good day. That's not when he's there. It's when you're having a bad day. He comes to the rescue. And there's so many people. I'll never forget, Don. I was in a plane that landed, and my phone rang, and it's Prince. And I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, where are her kids? Where are her kids? I said, what are you talking about? He goes, Lauryn Hill, where are her kids? He had found out that Lauryn had gotten in some trouble, and the first thing he wanted to know is, where are her kids and what can we do to help? Now, this is just how he was. I guarantee you, anybody struggling anywhere in the world, he was sending checks, he was making phone calls, but he did not want it to be known publicly, and he did not want us to say it, but I'm going to say it, because the world needs to know that it wasn't just the music. The music was one way he tried to help the world, but he was helping every single day of his life.
Van, as a friend and a loved one, what are you guys dealing with today?
Just guilt. Feeling like, what could we have done? What happened? And just feeling like, now people will start talking and you'll start hearing. You know, he was such a private person. The people in the inner circle, nobody got on TV and said anything. In fact, if you got on TV bragging about Prince, you ain't gonna know Prince tomorrow, because he doesn't like that. So now you're gonna hear all these people coming out. Oh, he mentored me. He helped me. Like I said, he was there for us when we were down. When I left the White House, he was the first person to call. Al Gore called me, and he called me, and he said, "Come over." He had me come to his house, Don. And he sat me down. I was just feeling so low. And he looked at me and he said, why are you so sad? I said, well, because I had this great job. I was working in the White House. I was doing good things. He said, you're going to do good things again. He said, let me tell you what you do, Van. He said, go to Jerusalem. Stay there for 2 weeks and pray. He said, then when you come back, sit down and give me a blank piece of paper and you write on it everything that you want to do that you think will help the community. And I will help you do it. Okay? So I went from working for a president to working with Prince. And every single thing that I said, I said, we've got to go to Chicago and do something about violence. We did 3 concerts in Chicago, Don, 3. And every community group there he brought in. And he didn't let there were no vendors, only community groups to help. We went to Baltimore. He went to New Orleans. There's so many things that he did. Those concerts that he was doing were a cover for him to be able to go into cities and help organizations and help leaders and touch people. And I want people to understand now, and all the rest of us, quit talking just about the music. Everybody that's been on this whole thing knows his humanitarian part as well, and how many people he's helped. And I know that we're not supposed to talk about it, but it's important that people know when you make it to his level. He said, I don't need any more attention. But I can't be in this world and see this much pain and suffering and not do something. Don't give me the credit. Don't give me the glory. But he pushed all of us to do more, and we all did more. And I want him to be known for that, too.
And he was.
Thank you, and welcome back to the Carolyn Holt Show. We are here this evening with Felicia Morris, and she is sharing her personal and professional journey with the artist known as Prince. If you'd like to add comments or share sympathy and just talk, you can feel free to call the show at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. Listening to that piece, I think for the people who are just, I would say, overwhelmed with a sense of sadness, to me, listening to that, it was so inspirational and so uplifting, because you don't hear people many times talk with any level of authenticity about somebody that not only was a professional associate, but also a personal friend, someone who really understood giving. And it appears from that piece that Prince really had a very keen sense about giving. So, how would you, I guess, in terms of your interaction with him, the little bit of interaction that you had with him, how would you characterize having an affiliation and an association with Prince? What kind of feeling would you say that brought to the relationship?
I didn't really have a relationship with Prince, but I'm glad that I came up in the era that I came up in, because I kind of feel bad for the young people today who don't know his music. A lot of kids today don't care about his music. They don't even really know who he is. And so I feel like I'm blessed to have come up and been around since the beginning of his career, you know, to really feel and understand and witness his greatness. So hopefully with his passing, you know, a lot of the younger generation will research and listen to his music and understand who he was as a person and as a musician and as a contributor to the planet Earth, you know. And he was so private. I didn't know that he did so many charitable things and supported so many charitable causes. So, but I'm not surprised.
Yes,
I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah, I don't think the world did know that, and it appears that that's how he preferred it. But it is good to hear that somebody at his level didn't have a problem with giving, and didn't have a problem with supporting you. Because many times that's not what the media suggest happens. So it is a wonderful, for me anyway, it's a very inspirational and wonderful to hear that he really did care about his friends. And even if you were not a personal friend, as Van Jones shared regarding Lauryn Hill, to reach out, to care about her kids. I mean, I think that's such an awesome thing to do.
Yes.
Because he didn't have to. He just decided to take it upon himself to do so. Yes. Now, it's my understanding that we have a phone call.
Yes.
Hi, caller.
Hi, this is Camille calling from Burbank, and I wanted to just thank you guys for having such a beautiful tribute and a beautiful discussion about an artist who just impacted all of us on so many profound levels. I wanted to just share with you guys, you were asking about like his, what Prince did as far as being able to get control of his music and of his catalog. And I just wanted to share with you that I watched him when he was on Larry King, and he explained that that was why he transitioned from Prince to the symbol, to the artist, formerly known as Prince, that it was about him having control of his masters. And so he literally went back and redid many of those masters so that he could have control of them. And he didn't re-record them under Prince, but re-recorded them under the name and the symbol that he selected. And that's how he was able to gain control partially of his catalog. So I just wanted to share that. That was straight from his discussion on Larry King.
Yes, but let me ask you this: as a fan,
exactly.
And as a person that has suffered a very profound loss this week.
Went to high school in the 80s. He was a very big big part of that, and house parties, and yeah.
So you were having house parties where Prince was the main event?
Well, it's just growing up in the 80s, that's what we did, and music was so much, you experienced it so much differently than we do now. And you would be at house parties in the Inland Empire where I'm from, and a song would come on, and you would literally, like, you know, everybody would just kind of look at each other, scream, and then you hit the floor. And, I mean, he was a part of that, his exuberance, his artistry. He was a part of, you know, if you were a child of the 80s, you were an MTV fan. And he was a big part of that whole dynamic. And so just so much of, like, just forming your taste and your, you guys talked about American Bandstand and
yes.
Just, yeah. So, and you truly experienced music on radio, and so you were listening to the lyrics and you were listening to the music, and you were taking a trip that initially wasn't visual. So it was very powerful and emotional when you listened to the songs.
Now, let me ask you this. You have had, I guess, a couple of days to put his sudden loss in perspective. What would you offer to... Because I know that a lot of people are just still in shock. What would you offer, I guess, in terms of helping fans find some sense of peace in the middle of all their hurt and their shock? What would you offer?
Well, I thank you so much for, that's such a beautiful question. And I thought about that actually on the day that he departed, and I wrote about it on my blog. And what was, yes, and what, in essence, what I said is, there's a part of me that wants to mourn you, but that is so energy draining. I have to celebrate you, and I have to just live better. And it's about being better in everything that you do, because I think sometimes we relegate greatness to people who are notable, whether they're musicians or athletes or physicians, but all of us can be great within the capacity that we've been given, and that's how the world is made better, which is, I think, what he did for so many of us, because he was selfless. He didn't think about what are people going to think about me, how are people going to criticize me. He just gave. He used to say about his music, I don't give people what they want, I give them what they need. So gratitude and just the desire to do better is, I think, where we can all move forward. Yes,
well, as Felicia mentioned earlier, she talked about, even though Prince was a very shy person, the boldness with which he expressed himself.
Yes.
How did that have an effect on you? I mean, were you smitten, I guess, by his bold flavor, so to speak?
I mean, I think absolutely. It's, if you loved art, and I talked about this with someone that I ran into, no matter what musical genre that you loved, Prince touched it.
Yes.
And so you could meet someone that you had nothing else in common with but the fact that you both, loved Prince, loved some aspect of his persona, his music, his expression. And so, yeah, I think anytime you see anyone great, I think we've all celebrated Kobe Bryant. Some of us begrudgingly came to the party, but we celebrated him, and we've been stunned at just 20 years of just a stellar, steadfast, consistent greatness. And I think that that's what Prince shows us. And I think, you can't help but be inspired. Yes. Whether it was the high note, the low note, the funk, the rock, the metal, the classical, the jazz, whatever it was, he was giving it. And I think the fact that he loved us more than he feared us.
Yes.
And so that's, I think, where you can just take tremendous inspiration, is his love.
Yes.
And that's what made him give the music and the art that we will, for generations, study, as we will Tupac and just one of the great ones.
I want to thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts with us tonight.
Thank you for having the discussion. You guys are great.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Felicia, for joining me as the co-host to talk about Prince and to put his life in perspective. I really appreciate you having joined the conversation.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of the conversation, and I will do my part to live by example and be an example and an inspiration to others in the way that I move and the way that I carry myself and the work that I too do in the community. So
Yes.
I think Prince would be proud of that.
Yes.
And he will be missed. I just feel like, my opportunity to have that one-on-one or to hang out with him.
Mm-hmm.
One other last memory that I do have that was awesome was I worked for The Beat here in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have told this. I told this story on my show. I probably told on this one too. But he did a press conference at the El Rey, and it was like 10:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that we were just gonna, hear him speak and talk, but he actually did a concert for us at 10:30 in the morning.
Oh my
the
God!
El Rey on Wilshire. And I remember thinking to myself, this is my life. How awesome is this?
Mm-hmm.
That I get up at early in the morning to go to a press conference and Prince performs live.
Yes.
And till this day, that happens to be one of my favorite Prince albums, which is the Musicology album.
Yes.
So I even have the audio from that press conference, and I think I haven't listened to it since I've done it, but on there I was able to ask him a question, and so you can hear me ask him a question on there.
Okay, do you have it? Do you have it now?
It's not, I have to transfer it to the
okay.
computer, but right now it's on a digital disc.
Oh, okay.
So I do want to play it and listen to it and listen back to it, because it was a great day.
Yes.
To be able to I think I got the album that day too, and I just went home and I played it over and over. I think I like every song on that Musicology CD.
Wow.
So,
well, I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate your thoughts and just the information that you have added to tonight's show and shared with us. And
that hour went by pretty fast, didn't it?
I know. And I know that this is a difficult time for many people who are true fans, but as we always say on this show, we want to move from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular, because that's what Prince was. So we just want you to keep your head up in the coming days and in the coming weeks, and know that Prince would have wanted you to be strong in the hour when you felt and seemed your most sad. So keep your head up in the coming week, and may God bless you and keep you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to you joining us on next week.